Major funding for these broadcasts has been provided by grants from Madison Realty Capital, New York Community Bank, M&T Bank, AmTrust Title, Customers Bank, Ariel Property Advisors, Capital One Bank, Sterling National Bank, Marks Paneth LLP, Meridian Capital Group. Additional funding has been provided by grants from Amarant Bank, AVR Realty Company, Bank of America Merrill Lynch, Briarwood Organization, B6 Real Estate Advisors, CBRE, Chase Commercial Term Lending, Chase Mortgage Lending, Citizens Bank, Collins Building Services, CPEX Real Estate Services, Douglaston Development, Levine Builders, Flushing Bank, Friedman LLP, Handro Properties Handler Real Estate Organization, Hodges Ward Elliott INC, Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Institute at Syracuse University, John Catsimatidis Red Apple Group, Kilroy Architectural Windows, Matone Group, Newmark Knight Frank, Optimum Window Manufacturing Corp., People's United Bank, Rockefeller Group, Rosewood Realty Group, RPW Group, SJP Properties, Stonehenge NYC, TD Bank, Terra CRG, the Merringore Family Foundation, and these friends. (2019). Where's the office market? What's happening? What's happening for the office leasing market in the different boroughs? What effect does Amazon, Google, tech companies have on the market? Today, I've assembled this group of real estate leaders to provide their insight on the market. My guests include Scott Gallen, founder and CEO of Handro Properties, Brian Waterman, Executive Vice Chairman, Newmark Knight Frank, David Sterner, President and CEO of MHP Real Estate Services, and last but not least, John Mayer, Executive Vice President of CBRE. So you're an owner and a broker, but predominantly an owner. You're an owner and a broker, but on this thing you're more knowledgeable in the brokerage today. David, you're a combination, but mostly an owner, and John, you're a major broker. How do you see the market today in 2019? How was 2018? And where do we see, especially with this exuberance everybody's feeling with the tech companies, the Amazon, the Googles, and the other companies?
I'd say it's a terrific market for a broker to be in. Because if you look at the statistics, they're so complicated that a broker can use those statistics in any way in which they want in order to tell the story that they want.
Statistics are fine, but I'm a tenant.
Right.
Okay, I'm looking over there, and you've done a number of properties on the Avenue of the Americas, which people a couple years ago were saying, who wants to be on the Avenue of the Americas? I'm not over here. And your client has really restructured two buildings, which were completely vacant. So how do you see those type of markets?
Well, I do the leasing for 1271 6th Avenue, and it's been an extraordinary success story. 6th Avenue has had an unbelievable investment from every one of the major owners, from Vornado to Durst to RXR to Fisher Brothers, and then Rockefeller. And Rockefeller took a 1950s, early 60s, mid-century modern building. They had the opportunity to consider whether or not they just wanted to release it in its unrenovated form, decided to take advantage of a bittersweet moment when Time Inc. left the building, have a vacant building, quite a scary scenario, and invested $350 million to take down the skin of the building.
So here's yes.
I would say that when you look at the hottest markets in New York right now, 6th Avenue is definitely one with the most activity
So
in it.
what happened? What made the change that people like this Avenue of the Americas?
Well, big tenants vacate big buildings, create big vacancy, but also create big opportunity. And so when you have, a large tenant like Time Inc. vacate 2 million square feet, it's like, oh my gosh, the statistics.
How do you
But
get
those tenants
how
come
do you
in.
get a blank Rome who lived in Grand Central for their entire history make a decision to go to the Avenue of the Americas?
Well, I'd say it is something that we're seeing in the city more and more, that tenants are willing to pay up to improve the quality of their office occupancy experience. They were in an old building, an old space that was third generation.
And he just hit
space.
upon it. 6th Avenue wasn't a bad location. That wasn't what drove the change. It was the inventory was getting old. The infrastructure was getting old. The landlords didn't feel the need to put in the money into it, and they were losing tenancy. What changed it, in my opinion, is what happened at Bryant Park. The new developments from Bank of America, the new developments from Verizon, all the money that Durst is now putting into his properties, as well as SL Green, that changed. It brought what you'd call Skyscraper Row all the way down to 42nd Street.
Yeah,
and I think that helped.
I mean, we own a building on 7th and 40th. Now, if you walk one block up to 6th Avenue, make a left, and go a couple of blocks, it has been a giant metamorphosis. It's sort of the beginning of the 6th Avenue. And then we do a lot of tenant rep business where we were showing people 6th Avenue properties who needed big footprints 5 years ago. And it was the infrastructure of the space. Now that's changing dramatically, the location's great.
But if we follow the same stream, a lot of people specifically do not want to be in the Times Square area. I mean, the companies are saying, I want to be out of this neighborhood. I don't care about the great transportation. It's a zoo.
But Times Square is going to have probably one of the largest vacancies, in probably the largest district with vacancy right now. But if you really look at what's gone on in the city, what's gone on in cultural change in terms of how people occupy space, the drivers of a lot of this leasing is to reinvent themselves, change the culture of the environment that they live in. TIs are at an all-time high in New York City. They're over $100 a foot on average. We're going to be probably the largest amount of leasing ever in the history of New York this year. It's going to be over 40 million feet. People want to change the way they live, and that's what's going on. That's why you're seeing tenants really create more efficient environments, pay a little bit more in rent, but they're actually paying less when they look at the totality of what they're doing.
And landlords are looking at the same way. We have to create amenity space isn't
Right.
new. It's 10 years old, probably the concept, maybe even older, but it's starting to become more prevalent. You're seeing it. It's not a do we do it. The landlord has to make the commitment. It has to happen, or you're not going to drive the new tenant.
Right.
Well, another thing that happened on 6th Avenue was when we first got 1271, we had these base floors of 70,000 feet. We knew the tower floors were going to lease all day long, and we thought we were going to die. And we had our first big bank walk in there, and we wanted to get them in and out as fast as we could. And when she said, wow, this is great, we knew we had something different, and we knew the market changed for the very thing that Brian was just talking about. Tenants were moving to a much different way of utilizing space, much more open plan, activity-based design, workplace strategies, et cetera.
What kind of amenity space are we seeing today? What's being built in these buildings today?
Well, Park Avenue Tower, we just went through a redevelopment there. It's a 700,000 foot building. We put in a 15,000 square foot amenity center. That's basically a club-like, hoteling-like amenity center that has conferencing, that has grab-and-go food, that has the pool tables and the ping pong tables and the gym and the fitness, and it's more of a lifestyle, right? And we're focused on that, and I think a lot more people are trying to do that as well. 550 Madison's going to be doing a lifestyle center. You know, even ESRT has done lifestyle centers within their space. So I think that that's the norm, and even lobbies having amenities in them as opposed to looking at them as transient spaces. So I think you're going to see that across the board.
What are you seeing in the B and C buildings?
In the B buildings, we don't have a lot of amenities in the common areas, but the tenants' requests within their space have become very amenitized. So instead of building offices, now we're building lunchrooms and break rooms and all sort of telephone booths. And so when we were doing 15,000 foot floors that had offices or an open plan, now half the allowance is dedicated to you'd call them amenities within their own space, since we don't have, and then of course everybody would like some outdoor space. They all want to sort of, can we use your setback? Can we go out the windows? And like, no, we can't let you use the windows. But we've done a bunch of tenant rep deals lately where all of a sudden you're hearing, I want space where I can have some outdoor space. That used to be sort of a crazy ask, but apparently now it's not.
I mean, a lot of our tenants we talk to and we say, look, it's not about me space anymore, it's about we space. So I think a lot of tenants are focused on collaborative areas. So even though you may be sizing people down in terms of where they're physically occupying space, you're creating other vignettes within the space where you can collaborate, you can get together. We did it ourselves in our own office space where we sized down on a per square foot basis, but we created a lot more amenitized space so that people can collaborate.
Your space is a great example of that, your own space.
You have two different thoughts here, though. One is tenants, and every tenant is creating amenitized space because, frankly, they're trying to get people to work longer.
I was going to say, you cannot recruit, you're not able to get the people you need to work for your company unless you add something, like you said, lifestyles or specialty that adds to the experience.
And landlords are constantly hearing about amenities, but not every landlord can wrap their arms around it, and not every building should be painted with the same brush. At 1271 6th, we had talked about amenities for a year, and we determined that it's a headquarters building with headquarters tenants, and the very first tenant is going to drive the amenities.
So what's going to happen to a building like 200 Park? Greenberg Traug's moving, they're moving to one Vanderbilt, a number of tenants. Here's a great building, everybody knows it, it's been there, it's in a great location. How are they going to change that type of property?
Well, Tishman Speyer has their Zoe product, which is developing, and it looks like it's got some really good promise. But I would say that, you know, it's an interesting building that I'm in there now. It's a very hard building to get people into, but it's an impossible building to take tenants out of because they realize that it's not just an amenitized building, but it's an amenity-rich environment. And that's what you see with Rockefeller Center. That's
You're in
what
a city.
Brookfield Place is trying to do. And so if you can sell the amenity-rich environment you're in, you can minimize
So let's leave Midtown and let's talk about Lower Manhattan. I mean, how many years ago is it when you bought 180 Maiden Lane?
2015, January. We took a year to renovate a $60 million capital improvement program, including a lot of amenities. But we had 850,000 of the million square feet empty. The good news is, over the last year and a half, we've rented about 670,000 square feet of the 850 available, all to credit-worthy tenants, all to large square footage tenants, either full floors or multiple floors. And I would tell you, it's not just what we did to the building, although it is a very unique structure with a public plaza that is really interactive, but the area of the Seaport, now that that's open, Fulton Street, all that they've done there, it's a different downtown.
It's a different Seaport also.
It's a different Seaport, but it's a different downtown.
Well, people are going there by choice, not by necessity.
Well, 28,000 new units every, that last 3 years, and the ferry system changed the dynamic.
We did 3 promotional deals in your building, and people loved the building. They loved the building.
What about Brooklyn?
I was born there. We were all born there.
Well, I think our consensus was it's a great place to live, but it's hard to work there.
It's just the supply-demand. It's
I mean, but you have the agency, you know, as we were talking about 25 Kent, and then you have 670,000 square feet at 72 Dock, at the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and you have Industry City, you have other properties over there, and half the world converting warehouses to office market. Who's moving in? I mean, the Estes of the world take 18,000 square feet. They don't take 180,000 square feet. I don't hear the major law firms. I haven't. J.P. Morgan Chase is not moving any additional space to Metro.
We're doing 203 J Street for Amtrust Realty, who's building the apartments above them. There's activity on the small space side. You know, you look at the 6,000 to 9,000 foot users and the 10,000 foot users. They're out there. It's the larger blocks of space where you got a lot of space and you got a lot of wood to chop.
You have Tishman building, you know, at the old Abraham and Strauss Macy's building, where the retail store is going to be small and they have office on top. You know, there's the transportation in downtown Brooklyn is fine.
That's great transportation.
You know, you have great transportation over there.
No, well, traditionally, and I think traditionally residential had to be built first, and there wasn't enough let's call density of residential there to support commercial office and being able to recruit and staff to the buildings there. So Metrotech's maybe just starting to pick up velocity because the residential market's so booming there. I think that's what we mentioned earlier about Long Island City. It kind of went the opposite. The residential started first. Yes, people bought buildings a few years ago, but they've been stuck with them. I think right now, certainly Amazon has changed the dynamic of that area, but residential being developed first and a commercial coming second is the normal transition in the market that I've seen.
Well,
that works.
the thought was that Brooklyn would be the tech hub and
Understood.
Long Island City would be the back office hub.
Didn't work.
So now the question is Long Island City the tech hub because Amazon's going there or not?
Wait a second. I mean, they're one. But if you go to the meatpacking district, if you go to the St. John's building, you have all these tech companies over here in Manhattan.
But the same thing occurred there.
Right.
They tried that. Jamestown was going to try to develop a commercial tower above Chelsea Market 5, 6, 7 years ago. There wasn't a demand for it.
Right.
Ultimately, the residential market continued to boom up and down the High Line, and that has changed the dynamic of what commercial people will come and go down there.
And this
It really has
streetscape
changed
issues in Long Island City, Michael. I mean, everybody is disappointed at the retail and food in Long Island City at this juncture in 2018. We all thought with all this res, we'd see some streetscape.
Queens Boulevard. Okay,
Well,
it
well,
is.
we did
it's
the
a little
factory
challenge.
building in Long Island City, which we've had a fair amount of success with.
That worked out very well.
We've done 800,000 feet of leasing in that building, but we created our own environment, very similar to what Chelsea Market.
Right.
So we had to put a food use in, multiple food uses, amenities like a gym and things like that.
You put in what wasn't on the street.
Right, food trucks. And that drove a lot of the leasing.
I mean,
That's what
Starrett
people are looking
Lehigh,
for.
RXR put food trucks in.
Right.
That's what they have.
Right.
Because the location was a little inconvenient. The food trucks were an important venue over there.
And the truck elevators had nothing to do anymore since all of us warehouse tenants moved out 40 years ago.
But job growth, look, if you get 20% job growth in some of these submarkets, you don't even come close to a 1% job growth in Manhattan.
Right.
It's, the base is a lot smaller. And I'm still a Manhattanite, even though I'm...
So here's the question. When somebody's lease is coming up and they're looking around, are they looking throughout the Manhattan, or are they just saying, I want to be in certain neighborhoods?
I don't think tenants are geocentric anymore.
No, that's changed.
I think that tenants will look at opportunities for blocks of space and then figure out whether the culture fits within that area or not.
And they're way more open-minded about where they won't look.
And it
I mean,
depends on how large you are. If you're 200,000 feet, you
You're
have
limited.
no choice but to
That's
look
right.
all over the place.
What happens to that small tenant who doesn't have a big organization? Where do they go in today's market?
The B buildings denominators shrink every year. That's the nice thing for us. But if you want to do a space at $50, you got to sort of come over in our neighborhood, and there's not a lot of neighborhoods left in Manhattan to do that.
Where in the Apparel West Side, that's
Or even further in 7th.
Think about that, $50 in that district.
But that's the
$50
point.
to $60,
And
right?
along-
right.
and along
now
that-
we get fancy brokers like Brian who'll come, because at $25, nobody would cross the 6th Avenue divide. Now it's $60 for 10,000 feet.
amazing that that's around.
We just made a $60 10,000-foot deal, and we had a lot of fanciful brokers on it.
To connect those two conversations, Murray Hill would never look outside of 7th to 3rd to 60th to 30th. We would never go further west than 7th. Now, because rents have skyrocketed, obviously Hudson Yards has dragged everything further west. Same thing is going to happen in the East Side rezoning. Most commercial would not look at 1st, 2nd Avenue. The 2nd Avenue subway, the rezoning of the East Side, it's a game changer.
Right.
So, but Michael, when I talked before about how the statistics are so all over the place, that we can talk in very exciting terms about a certain market that's getting $120, $130, $140 a foot for high quality blocks. But the fact is there's still 46 million square feet available, as much space as downtown Los Angeles and Dallas combined. Average asking rents are still flat for the last 4 years. Vacancy has been flat and probably would have gone up if we didn't have WeWork taking 5 million square feet.
Let's bring up the 800-pound gorilla. WeWork, the Notel, the Convenes, and everything else. Because of the leasing taking place, they represent a large portion of the leasing each and every year.
10% of the leasing this year.
Yeah.
I recently went to WeWork because I was looking for space, and it was a wake-up call. Okay, it's a little crowded, a little difficult. I don't think they really do their due diligence on who the tenants are within a location.
Vacancy in this
I was going to say, if it's packed, they're doing their job.
Enough due diligence.
You may not be the right fit for it, Michael. But ultimately, the millennial doesn't care. The more packed, the better off.
But you know what? I did a show recently on that topic, and we work at a certain age tenant. Industrious has a different age tenant.
There are different concepts.
Some people like to go to the W, some like to stay at the Four Seasons. I think you're going to see categories.
And then you have surf
that
court,
apply-
right?
Wait a second. I think in many of these cases I'm going to the Pot Hotel. Okay, with my 70 square foot room over there.
New York now, Michael.
Okay, so, David was talking before about something right near Yankee Stadium, the Bronx. Let's talk about the Bronx.
We would never have considered going there. What we do is add value. Value returns are in mid-20s. To buy at $700 a foot and to expect to be able to return 20% over any term of the life of the hold period, it's impossible.
See, but people don't realize that when you relocate from Manhattan, north of 96th Street, okay, or you go to the boroughs, you have the REIT benefits right now, which are very important. And
Absolutely.
People were complaining about this Amazon deal, but they didn't take advantage. They were offered the opportunity with these REIT benefits over there.
It takes guts, okay, to go out into these what I call frontier lands. And the people that did it in Brooklyn and when Metro Tech was being built, they had guts. They had to wait longer to see any part of that return. I would say the same thing about Long Island City. I would say the same thing about the Bronx. These are areas that are just waiting to take off. When Manhattan has a price point of average over $600 a foot, which we're getting very scary, including the B and C class properties going for that price.
Oh, yeah.
You cannot afford to add value in the city.
Do we see the biosciences going to the Hudson Yards? Okay, the Alexandria Center has done well. You have bioscience on Cornell Tech. Okay, you have a different market. You also have the vacant property that was Fisher property, which is the Mac over there on the east side. Healthcare has become such an important element, especially in the Bronx. I mean, they're the largest tenant in the Bronx today. Do you see companies in those markets moving to different locations?
Well, Intercept went to Hudson Yards, right? So that's one biotech that went there. I think that you're going to see some growth in the biotech industry. You look at what's going on First Avenue. That's going to be part of it. It's going to be a biotech hub.
It has to be because they have to be part of our development. Biotech is very particular about what they need as far as space needs, not only large ceilings, but venting, and there's a lot of specialty for them. So the building ground up is what they need.
I think that when you historically have looked at New York, we were financially driven. We were dependent on the financial services industry, right? Now you see, Amazon committing to 25,000 jobs by 2028, bringing them here. You look at the biotech. This is all great for New York City in terms of just diversifying the tenant base.
If you look at it this way, NYU has been a very big tenant over there. They took the building on 41st Street between 2nd and 3rd Avenue, 41-story building. The entire building is an ambulatory care center.
Right.
Okay, then you have the Boston Properties property, the former Citicorp building that there's a discussion that they're going to take 250,000 square feet. Memorial Sloan Kettering, Hospital for Special Surgery.
Every other building.
All these tenants are going all over the city. So we're, in a way, with the demand, there's a need.
All the fundamentals, all the demographics point to a continuing growth in healthcare and, of course, biotech as a result. So, Manhattan, the boroughs, everybody is going to benefit from it. I think our biggest challenge is getting people transported around the city. Sure. And which is one of the reasons why Manhattan is and will continue to be the leader of all of the growth, because it all feeds back into the city.
All these great areas we're talking about, Long Island City and Brooklyn, the big challenge is how do you get these people moved in and out of Manhattan? And it's hard to move intra-Manhattan.
So what about my discussion, the topic I brought up that I didn't get any answers about the Navy Yard and the Industry City and the other locations over there? What do you see? Do you see companies, office tenants, possibly moving to these properties?
We've lost tenants there, Michael. We talked about buildings that we have going from $30 to $50. When you have a 15,000-foot tenant paying $50, who started out paying $20, they can't afford to be here anymore. We've brokered some tenants out into some of those places at half the price because they just can't be in Manhattan with 15,000 feet.
And their employee base lives there.
Brooklyn pricing is all over the map. What made Brooklyn cool were the kinds of tenants who could only afford $15 a foot for the kinds of things that they do. And I'm a big fan of Industry City because they could price it very inexpensively. In Jamestown and Cohen, they know how to curate this stuff. It's a fun place to work. But it's also really cheap, and you get the REAP benefits. Too much of Brooklyn is priced like Manhattan at $65 a foot, and they say, but you get the REAP. The REAP should be, you know...
The REAP is worth something, but it's not worth that.
It's worth $15 to $18 a foot if you have a robust employee base.
Yes.
And the question is how deep is that base when you go into some of these $20 buildings?
Right.
Is it more industrial or not? So they don't benefit as much as you would think they would.
You know, what about other sections of Queens? You know, I see Queens in other markets doing well, perhaps even Willets Point.
Woodside and Astoria are going to definitely benefit by virtue of Amazon in Long Island City. It's going to start. It's going to start moving, and Astoria is hot already, but Woodside is going to get there too.
All
well.
boats will
Yeah.
raise with the tides. I mean, they really will.
Well, as a tenant guy at CBRE, who's been doing this 30 years, I've never actually put a tenant in Forest Hills, and I think another 30 years I probably never will.
Well, I did it at 8002 Kew Gardens Road for like in 1993 out there, which is right across from the bus development.
Not that
there hasn't been a new development out in there, really.
Not that they won't perform nicely for an investor.
You know what? You just brought up the comment.
Right.
There hasn't been another development over here. But when people start living, more people living over there, and they want to be more convenient to their home, you're going to see somebody build an office building over there. They've done that with medical. And
Medical.
Okay, medical has been all over. Okay, you know, we haven't seen new buildings in New Jersey. I'm talking office buildings.
Right.
We have, in Westchester, we've seen the total opposite. The spaces have been taken over and being converted to residential. Parts of New Jersey, the same thing. But I think in conclusion, the New York City market is strong. It continues to be strong. New developments are going to be planned, and both the owners and the brokers are going to be happy over there in the future, and 2019 looks good. I'd like to thank Scott, Brian, David, and John, and I'll see you next week.